Greetings, my fellow freaks and weirdos. I'm Tom, and welcome to Monster Gab, where we love to talk about all things horror. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about actors and actresses that you forgot starred in a horror movie. Apparently you forgot, that's what it says here. But this is not an episode where I condescendingly try to educate you on who starred in what, because I know that many of you who watch this channel are seasoned horror fans who probably are already aware and likely know far more than I do. Or at least we'll find out, because today's episode is an interactive one. I've had this basic quiz on my phone for a couple of years now, simply titled Actors and Actresses You Forgot Starred in Horror Movies, and we're going to play it together. It's very simple. There are 16 names here, and they're all people that are not particularly well known for starring in horror. So, for argument's sake, people like Boris Karloff, or Vincent Price, or I don't know, Lin Shaye, for instance, are usually well known for starring in horror movies, so they're not likely to be on this list. So like I said, there are 16 names here. I'm supposed to guess what horror movie that they featured in and just swipe across for the answer. But what I'll do is I'll say the name out loud and put a 5-second timer on the screen so you guys can play along and have a guess before I do. And at the end of the video, share your score in the comment section. And it doesn't matter if you take longer than 5 seconds to guess the answer. As long as you guess it before I do, then give yourself a point, okay? It's out of 16, and be honest, okay? I've not played this game before. I could seriously embarrass myself here. We'll just do this for a bit of fun, okay? Oh, and feel free to shout your answers out loud at the screen if you really want to. I mean, if you're watching this on a public bus with headphones on, don't worry about it. People won't mind if you spontaneously just shout out, "Night of the Living Dead!" However you want to play it, it doesn't matter. As long as you're playing, it's all good. Anyway, remember to keep score. Let's play. So the first name is Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson. Any ideas? Do you know the answer? I don't. I know who Scarlett Johansson is, but I can't think of a movie off the top of my head, or a horror movie at least, that she featured in. No, nothing's coming to me. I'm going to have to give up on that. Let's have a look. Eight-Legged Freaks. Ah, there we are. The film about the giant spiders. 2002. God. I don't think I've seen that movie since it came out. I've only seen it the once, so no wonder I didn't get that answer. Anyway, if you got the answer right, give yourselves a point. Let's move on to the next one. Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio. Right, I'm quite confident about this one. I'm pretty sure it's Critters 3? I know it's one of the Critter movies. I'm sure it's Critters 3. He's very young in it. He's a kid, in fact. Probably the first movie he starred in. I'm just trying to think if there's another horror movie he may have been in. I know he was in Shutter Island, but that's probably more of a psychological thriller, perhaps. I'm sticking with my answer anyway. I'm pretty confident that it's Critters 3. Let's have a look. Ah, there we go. 1991. Wow. Well, there we are. Well, I'm on the scoreboard now. Let's move on to the next one. Demi Moore. Oh, it won't be The Substance, okay? It won't be The Substance, in case that's your guess, because as I'm filming this, The Substance only came out last year, and I can guarantee you that this quiz is at least a couple of years old, okay? So it's not The Substance. With that in mind, I'm trying to think of a horror movie that Demi Moore starred in. If I'm totally honest with you, I can't even think of a movie in general that Demi Moore starred in. Really sorry to any Demi Moore fans out there. No offense to her. I know she was in Striptease. No, I'm gonna have to give up on this one. Do you guys know the answer? Give yourselves a point if reveal the right one. Parasite. I can't say I've heard of it. 1982. Okay. Right, well, there we are. Parasite is the answer. So there you go. Like I said, if you got the answer right, give yourselves a point. Let's move on to the next one. Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds. Okay, the only horror movie that I can think of off the top of my head is the remake of the Amityville Horror. I know he was in a film called Life, I think. I think it's called Life. It's like a sci-fi horror movie, but I don't think it's going to be that. I'm just wondering if it is the Amityville Horror, because it's a remake, it came out in like 2005, I want to say. That's what I'm choosing anyway. I'm going with that for my answer. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we are. Amityville Horror. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Jennifer Aniston. Down, 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 down. Again, I'm pretty confident with this one. I'm sure the answer is Leprechaun. If I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the first movie she ever starred in. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure she doesn't associate herself with this movie. But yeah, I'm pretty confident it's the Leprechaun. I hope it is now, because I've waffled on about it enough. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. 1993. Wow, there we go. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp. Okay, I knew this name was going to come up, and I'm pretty confident the answer is A Nightmare on Elm Street. But this is an interesting one for me, because this comes up a lot in horror-themed Facebook groups and Facebook pages, that people forget that Johnny Depp was in this movie, which I find very hard to believe. I can only imagine it's because he was very young in it, or people just haven't seen the movie in a long time, or maybe it's just casual horror fans that forget this fact. But yeah, people do forget that Johnny Depp was in the movie. But with this being actors that you don't normally associate with horror, when I think of Johnny Depp, I'm pretty sure he's been in a lot of horror movies, or at least like creepy movies anyway. You know, like, well, he did the voice for Corpse Bride, didn't he? But he was in, what's the name of that film? He was in From Hell, which I suppose is a horror thriller, but it's definitely still a horror film, I think. What's the other one he's in? Sleepy Hollow. Again, probably horror fantasy, but it's definitely a horror movie. I'm trying to think. There's a movie where he's a bookkeeper, and he's trying to find a couple of texts that can, I think it's like summon the devil or something. I can't remember what the movie's called. He was in Secret Window, probably more of a thriller, I suppose. What was the movie where he was a vampire? I can't remember what that's called. I'll put it up on the screen anyway. There's a movie where he's a vampire, and of course he was in Edward Scissorhands as well, which I suppose isn't a horror, but it's kind of got creepy themes. Oh, it's bugging me though. There was a movie that he starred in where he's like this bookkeeper, and I'm sure it's got like a numeric in the title, like the 5 somethings, or is it the 9 somethings? The 9. It's going to bug me, this. The 9 gates? Is it the 9 gates? The 9th gate. There we are. Anyway, I've waffled on far too much and I've already picked my answer. I'm still pretty confident the answer is Nightmare on Elm Street. Let's have a look. There we go. Sorry, I just had to get that on my system. There's another name that might crop up later, Kevin Bacon, and it's a very similar situation, but we'll cross that bridge if we get to it. Let's move on. Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence. Okay, I'm pretty confident I know the answer to this, but I can't remember the name of the movie. It's a kind of recent-ish one. When I say recent, I mean like post-millennium anyway. I want to say The Last House on the Left, but I know it's not that. It sounds like that. It's like The Last House something. The last. No, I keep thinking Last House on the Left. I know there was a remake of Last House on the Left, but it's not that. It's got house in the title. Like, is it House at the End of the Street? I think. Let's have a look. Yes, there we go. 2012. Oh, there we go. Right, okay. I'm really glad I got that one. Let's move on. George Clooney. George Clooney. Okay, the only horror movie that comes to mind is From Dusk Till Dawn. I can't think of anything else that he would have starred in that's horror. I'm just trying to think. It's got to be that, hasn't it? From Dusk Till Dawn. Right, I'm going with that. From like 1998, I think. Oh! Okay, Return to Horror High. Right, no, I've never even heard of it. I'm guessing it's a sequel. I'm not even sure if I've heard of Horror High. But yeah, there we go. I don't know what role he played in that movie, but yeah, that's the answer. Return to Horror High. So if you guessed that right, give yourselves a point. From Dusk Till Dawn is not the right answer. Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton. I'm pretty confident about this answer. I'm sure it's the remake of House of Wax. Just trying to think if there's anything else, but no, it's got to be that, hasn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. House of Wax, 2005. Not the only movie she starred in where she's covered in a gooey substance, but we'll leave that there. Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth. I'm aware of who he is. I can't think of a horror movie off the top of my head. Doesn't he star in all of those kind of Marvel movies? I don't know. I don't watch Marvel movies. I apologize if you're a fan of those movies. They don't do it for me. I don't watch anything that's like to do with superheroes and stuff. I'm just wondering if it's like a Marvel horror movie or something. I don't know. I really do apologize for my ignorance. I can't think of a movie, or at least a horror movie, that Chris Hemsworth was in. So I'm just going to pass on this one. Let's have a look. Ah, The Cabin in the Woods. I do know that. I did know the answer. Oh, that's really annoyed me. Yeah, of course he was in Cabin in the Woods. No points for me though, because I didn't guess. Never mind. Let's move on. Before we move on, folks, this is a sponsored video, and it's sponsored by none other than me. Call me a big head. This is definitely some shameless promoting. I've just recently released a music album onto all of the major music streaming platforms. So here in the UK, the most popular ones are Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube Music. There's plenty of others too. Anyway, I've just released an album called The MARSH WARDEN, and it's by me, Tom H. Goss. Don't forget the H. There's another Tom Goss out there who's far more popular than I am. Yeah, I'm not a professional or anything like that. I am an amateur artist. I just do this as a hobby. But I'd love for you to check it out. So yeah, just some shameless promoting. My album's just been released. Go check it out. You might like it, you might hate it. Anyway, let's crack on with the quiz. Kelly Rowland. Kelly Rowland. Yeah, from Destiny's Child, I believe. She was in, I do know it. She was in Freddy versus Jason. I wanted to say like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, and then yes, yeah, she's definitely in Freddy versus Jason. So that's got to be the answer. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. 2003. Wow. Kevin Bacon. There he is. Kevin Bacon. So yeah, like I said before with Johnny Depp, this name crops up a lot in like horror themed Facebook groups that I'm a part of. People forget that he was in Friday the 13th, which is my guess, by the way. So yeah, I'm going with Friday the 13th. But the thing with Kevin Bacon, and going back to the fact that this is meant to be actors that you wouldn't normally associate with horror, he's been in quite a few horror films, or at least I think so. I know, for instance, he was in Stir of Echoes. He was in Tremors, which is kind of a horror movie, like a monster movie. What's the name of? It's like a ghost film. It was kind of recent. I think it's called The Darkness, I think. But he was in another one as well. There's another one I think is a horror film or a ghost film. I can't remember what that's called, but I'll put it up on the screen. But he was also in Hollow Man as well, which I suppose you could argue is kind of like a sci-fi horror movie, but it's still horror. Anyway, again, I've waffled on. I'm pretty sure the answer is Friday the 13th. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. 1980. Excellent. Give yourselves a point if you knew the answer. Charlize Theron. Or Theron. I don't actually know how to pronounce her name. I know who she is. She's in the Orville. Charlize Theron or Theron or whatever. Anyway. What horror movie was she in though? I genuinely don't know. I'm guessing it's probably like 90s to 2000s. But I don't know. I haven't got a clue. What do you guys think? Let's have a look. Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, 1995. I wouldn't have a clue. I don't remember in that movie. I'm not even sure if I've seen it, actually. Oh, there we go. Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire. Ah, Fred Astaire. Right, okay. This nearly threw me off. When I think of Fred Astaire, I think of him in his prime, like in the 1940s, and he did things like The Holiday Inn and whatnot. I was trying to think, like, what kind of horror movie did he star in back then? But no, he starred in one far later in his career. The problem is I can't remember what it's called. I've got it on DVD as well. Yeah, so he's quite old in it, and there's a few actors in it as well who are also quite old, and you wouldn't normally associate them with horror. But I can't remember what the film is called. It's a ghost story. It's called Ghost Story. I'm just trying to think if he did star in a movie during the 1940s that was like a horror themed movie. But no, I'm going to go with Ghost Story. I'm pretty sure it's that. Yes, there we go. 1981. I'm really pleased I got that one, actually. That's great. Jamie Lee Curtis? Seriously? Seriously? Jamie Lee Curtis? This is supposed to be people you wouldn't normally associate with horror. She's got to be the most famous scream queen that's ever been in horror movies, surely. Like one of the most famous Final Girls. This is ridiculous. So if you don't know the answer to this question, I'm not going to mock you, okay? I would just probably assume that you don't watch that many horror movies, or that you don't at least watch classic horror movies. I don't... Jamie Lee Curtis. Well, for the rest of us, there's no prizes for guessing the answer. I mean, give yourself a point. But this is ridiculous. Okay, let's not mess about. We're pretty sure the answer is Halloween, okay? This is meant to be someone who's not associated with horror movies. I mean, she's been in plenty of Halloween sequels, for one. There was Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, Halloween Resurrection. There's the other, the trilogy sequel that came out fairly recently. But then she was in The Fog. She was in that other horror movie as well that takes place on a train on New Year's Eve. I can't remember what the name of the film is. But to say that she's not associated with horror, I mean, okay, let's just say that she only starred in Halloween. That was the only horror movie she starred in. It's probably the movie she's most famous for. Anyway, shall we find out what the answer is? No way! You don't say. Halloween. Wow. Well, that was an easy one. Okay, last but not least, Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks. Wow. I can't think of a movie. I couldn't imagine Tom Hanks in a horror movie. I wonder what kind of horror movie it is. Tom Hanks. I can't think of anything. I don't even know when it would have come out, if it's like fairly recent or Tom Hanks in a horror movie. I don't know. Do you guys know? Do you know the answer? We're going to find out anyway. Let's have a look. He Knows You're Alone, 1980. Yeah, I've never heard of it. Wow. He Knows You're Alone. I wonder what kind of horror movie it is. Let's have a look. Apparently it's a slasher. Wow. Did you guys know that? Do you aware? I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out. Sounds interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check out The Parasite as well with Demi Moore. That sounds interesting too. So there you go, folks. That's the end of the quiz. 16 names. How well did you do? Put your score in the comments section below. I'd be really fascinated to know how well you did. I genuinely don't know. I wasn't counting. But I'll put a score on the screen somewhere. I'm pretty sure I got more than half, though. And I'm quite happy with how well I did there, because there were some curveballs in there, some odd ones. I mean, Tom Hanks. I never knew. Did you? Anyway, that's pretty much the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It was just a little bit of fun. But yeah, anyway, until next time. I don't know who they are, But if you don't subscribe, they will get you. So make sure you are indeed subscribed. Click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new video here on Monster Gab. Like the video if you did indeed like it. Share this with your friends, and thank you so much for stopping by. Take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.